Farm Week is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, Mississippi farmers race Hurricane Isaac, trying to harvest their crops before the rain hits.
Mississippi's 4-H poultry team is headed to national competition.
And today's Southern Gardening, ornamental sweet potatoes. You'll be surprised at the varieties available.
In the markets, there's optimism that soybean prices could go higher. But at the catfish ponds, there's worry that lower prices and sluggish markets are here for a while.
In the feature segment, St. Bethany's Fresh. This brother and sister-owned greenhouse operation is producing pesticide-free tomatoes for sale in the Pontotoc, Mississippi area.
We may have beautiful plants, we may have a wonderful facility, we may have beautiful tomatoes, but if they don't taste good, it's all for naught. So we're really excited about how people are responding to our tomatoes.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week.
It depends on your location, but many Mississippi growers are counting themselves fortunate with Hurricane Isaac taking a track west of the state.
Leighton, many Mississippi farmers began last week advancing their harvest plans when it did appear that Isaac would hit the state. September and October are the prime harvest months in Mississippi. Rain and wind can only reduce the quality and the yield of the crops waiting to be gathered. First clouds from Hurricane Isaac began to move over Webster County, Mississippi early Tuesday morning. Grower Stan Rogers of Gore Springs, however, began stepping up his corn harvest schedule several days ago because Hurricane's mean lost yield.
Said it's supposed to be here Wednesday, and we like about 200 acres. So we're working harder trying to get it out.
Rogers also has 800 acres of cotton, 300 acres of soybeans. They will have to weather Hurricane Isaac as is.
Well, if we get those 40 and 50 mile-an-hour winds, it's going to lodge a lot of the corn, and it'll blow the cotton and soybeans around pretty bad.
Area agronomist Dennis Reginelli with the Mississippi State University Extension Service says the corn harvest is in its final days in northeast central Mississippi. After an excellent growing season, he hopes the hurricane will not hurt farmers.
We're seeing some dry land corn go as high as 200 bushels per acre. Most of the corn is in the 150 to 180 range, but we're also seeing irrigated corn running as high as 270 bushels per acre.
Grower Billy Tabb of Eupora tried to get a jump on the storm by spraying a defoliant on his Group 4 soybeans in hopes of harvesting some before Isaac hit. Unfortunately, the beans did not dry down fast enough.
Got 2 loads cut. I was hoping I could cut something before it came in here, but I've choked the combine up twice and I'm done. I'm not fighting it anymore. They're too green, and I'm getting docked at the elevator, so I'm just gonna let it do what it's gonna do. Ain't nothing I can do. Just watch it, I suppose.
Everybody's getting harvest time right now, and then of course Isaac's coming in, and everybody's trying to get as many potatoes out of the field as they can as quickly as they can.
This is Matthew Knight's 6th season growing sweet potatoes. Sustained rainfall could cause the sweet potatoes to molder in the ground.
If you get them in the low spots and the water stands on them this time of year, they'll try to rot and break down. I've been farming for 20 years now, and I've learned Mother Nature's out of your control. All you can do is the best you can, the rest is up to the good Lord.
And those who need advice and help on cleanup and repair are urged to go to the msucares.com website, where there's a lot of information sheets. Now, this information was tested and refined with Hurricane Katrina. And Leighton, this is from Stan Rogers' farm, and sometimes he said they actually had the yield monitor hit 257 even on some dry land that he had. It's not going to obviously average that overall. Now, in North Mississippi, farmers really got an extra day. Wednesday did not come in early as they thought, so they actually got some more harvest time in, and hopefully that did help. You go down south, though, chicken farmers, they need electricity, they need water, so
generators are running. no
Hopefully the
doubt.
generators are running down there. So I guess next week we'll have a little better idea of what's going on, because obviously as we tape this on Thursday, it's still moving through the state.
Thanks, Artis. Well, the state 4-H poultry judging team will represent Mississippi this November at the national competition in Kentucky. The team was chosen this summer at the Mississippi 4-H Congress. There's more to poultry than just chickens and eggs. Participants learn to examine the quality of eggs, judge live birds, and even present their information to judges. Farmweek's Amy Taylor reports it's appropriate since poultry is Mississippi's #1 agricultural commodity.
Through the 4-H Poultry Project, young people learn about an industry that has a huge impact on Mississippi's economy. This year, teams competed at State 4-H Congress in categories which included judging live birds, ready-to-cook carcasses, poultry market products, and exterior and interior eggs. Mississippi State University Extension Service poultry instructor Jessica Wells talks about the skills young people acquire.
They're going to lead a team and help each other practice and get prepared for all of these competitions. And then once in the competitions, the higher they place, the further they go. So, it really develops all those leadership skills and social skills too. They give oral reasons, which gets them involved in the public speaking and speaking on topics in front of someone. It's a really good thing to involve them in ag and to see how important the poultry industry is, which is the largest ag commodity in the state of Mississippi.
In fact, poultry brings about $2.4 billion to Mississippi's economy. Contest participant Holly Nutt explains why she's interested in poultry.
I enjoy being on the poultry team is because I've always done it. I've done it for the past 4 years, and chickens is something we have a lot of in Scott County, so it's just interesting to know things about it when it's all around you. I've also learned when you go to the grocery store, you always don't get what they tell you get on top of the package, but you need to be able to know so when you go look for yourself, you can judge, because you know what's good and what's not good. Like a lot of the eggs in the supermarket aren't as graded as you think they are, so it just teaches you to keep a better lookout on things.
Holly Nutt's team won the state poultry competition and will compete at nationals held in Louisville, Kentucky. From Mississippi State University, I'm Amy Taylor reporting.
Are you looking for a hardy ground cover plant that loves the summer heat? In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman says the ornamental sweet potato comes in a variety of colors for the landscape.
Did you know a relative of the morning glory makes a ground cover with beautiful, colorful foliage? Here, selections of ornamental sweet potato are being evaluated for use in our Mississippi landscapes. Ornamental sweet potatoes, known botanically as a Pomoea batatas, are actually real sweet potatoes that breeders are selecting for vivid and attractive leaves. Ornamental sweet potatoes are vigorous growing plants that produce thick mats of color. The Sweet Caroline series offers a wide selection of heart-shaped and cut-leaf foliage in a variety of colors for the landscape. Foliage colors include light green, purple, red, and bronze. Sweet Caroline selections Raven and Bewitched have dramatic black foliage. The Illusion series has lacy textured leaves featuring deeply cut lobes that resemble fingers. Colors available in the Illusion series include garnet lace, emerald lace, and midnight lace. The flowering of ornamental sweet potato is considered inconspicuous, but can provide an unexpected treat. Since ornamental sweet potatoes can be vigorous, they may become unruly and run over other plants. Simply prune back to keep them in bounds. Ornamental sweet potatoes perform best with consistent moisture. Be sure to water during dry periods to help maintain good plant health. And while these plants may look their best in the fall, ornamental sweet potatoes are annuals in Mississippi. Ornamental sweet potatoes add annual color in every landscape they're planted, so why not enjoy them in yours? I'm Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Gary says ornamental sweet potatoes are cousins of the morning glory, and they have similar flowers. And it's a pretty little flower. In the feature segment today, St. Bethany Fresh. At a time when most farmers are older, a brother and sister from Pontotoc, Mississippi have started their own greenhouse tomato operation. Time now for the markets with Leighton. And trade in the beef market, you say, is a little weak leading up to Labor Day.
That's right, Artis, but analysts are saying there are some signs of stability in the cattle sector despite that weakness. More in a moment on this. Also ahead this week, corn trades sideways for the most part now. China makes a big soybean purchase from the United States, while U.S. catfish processing and prices dip further. No fresh news has kept the corn market in somewhat of a sideways trading pattern of late. However, corn began trading slightly higher by Thursday. Analysts like Jamie Kohaki say this demonstrates there is proven support for this market when corn prices slip much below the $8 level.
There's not a whole lot of fresh news out there until the September crop report, so I think we're waiting on yields, from producers come in, so I think profit taking would be the key. But I think long term there's more upside. We're going to be probably somewhere at 10.5, 10.3 crop. We're not doing a very good job of rationing yet. Ethanol numbers are good, export numbers are good, and I think longer term we'll be back higher than we are now, but short term looking for us to get back down below 8 and run some stops out.
Meanwhile, soybean prices are giving every indication they are not done yet. On Wednesday of this past week, futures were up more than 30 cents on the day for both old and new crop. Analyst Sue Martin says in that action, the bean market was acknowledging that demand is still strong, even at near record high prices.
I believe soybeans, while they can still have another little correction here, of course, little could be 70, 80 cents, in a heartbeat. But I think we're not done yet.
Okay.
The bean market's got much higher to go.
Let's move to farm-raised catfish for our trivia quiz this week. How many of our state's catfish ponds are located in East Mississippi? Is the answer 10%, or 18%, or 24%, or as high as 33%? You'll find out here in a few more minutes.
We're going to pause for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar and the second part of the markets. Leighton Span reports catfish prices slip further while the feeder cattle market may be stabilizing. In the feature segment today, St. Bethany Fresh. This Pontotoc, Mississippi greenhouse operation produces tomatoes without chemical pesticides.
At Mississippi State University, Extension is reaching beyond the college campus and impacting adult education. We're instructing agricultural professionals on the latest trends in research and technology, inspiring communities, empowering small businesses, and promoting the growth of healthy families where youth and adults can reach their fullest potential.
The MSU Extension Service, sharing our vision for the future.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The third annual Mississippi Gourd Festival will take place Saturday and Sunday, September 15th and 16th. The location is the Smith County Agricultural Complex at Raleigh. Registration is $2, children 12 and under free. All sorts of classes on growing gourds and decorating gourds will be held. Painting, carving, you name it, and you'll see it there. Early bird classes will start Friday afternoon. Go to the Mississippi Gourd Association website to find out more and sign up for the classes. We will have a link on our Farm Week calendar. The annual Delta Rice Luncheon takes place Friday, September 21st at the Silders Coliseum, Delta State University in Cleveland. Hours are 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. There will be more than 300 different rice dishes, and the tickets are $5 per person. In addition to lunch, many local agencies will also be there offering health screenings and other services. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
We now look at the government's monthly snapshot of the nation's farm-raised catfish industry. It indicates prices continue to slip south. These numbers reflect conditions in the month of July. The average pond bank price paid to U.S. producers was 84 cents per pound. That is down 9 cents from June and down a big whopping 40 cents per pound from a year ago. Farm sales totaled just over 25 million pounds round weight, down 6% from July 2011. Processor sales were 13.3 million pounds. That is up 4% from a year ago. Extension Ag economist Dr. John Michael Riley has been looking over those recent catfish numbers since they were released. I talked with him on Thursday morning. John Michael, pond bank prices have really continued to plunge here for catfish producers.
They have. They started the plunge as we moved into 2012, and just over the past couple of months have really taken a dip, dropping about 10% month over month. If you look at the past 2 or 3 months in terms of prices, and that's been hard pill to swallow for everybody, I know.
And of course, this kind of correlates with a rise in prices in the corn and soybean pit.
Unfortunately, right. We've seen corn prices, soybean prices grow as this drought has really taken hold of the Midwest, where most of those crops are grown. And you know, when that's 60 to 70% of your total cost of production, that's when it really hurts. Is that the fact you have dropping prices at the farm gate, at the same time you've got floating feed really
increasing.
So that's doing a number on a number of balance sheets for our catfish producers.
And I would imagine too much fish inventory is part of that problem too.
That's part of it. I mean, when we have seen a contraction in the industry, water acres down quite a bit over the past number of years. Mississippi down 7.7% at the beginning of this year, right at 51,200 acres. So we're still the big player in the market, but we have seen a decline in water acres. With those higher prices, I think what happened is at the restaurants, there was a pushback. Sales just really slowed down because of higher retail prices, and that's really caused a backlog in terms of inventories.
And of course, we still have the Asian fish problem hanging out there, the exports from Asia coming to the United States.
That's something we're always going to have to deal with. I don't know that that's something that's going to just go away completely. I think we just need to continue to try to wrap ourselves around the U.S. Farm Raised brand, and that's helped. But again, when you got high prices, it's hard to really push that across to the consumer.
And it's hard to say when this picture may improve for the U.S. catfish industry.
The way it looks right now, it's not going to improve anytime soon. We're going to have to continue to see contraction in that industry. Unfortunately, I think is what's going to happen.
From aquaculture to the pasture and feedlot to close out the markets, there is some question as to whether feeder cattle is a stable market at the moment. Analyst Darren Newsom's take on the situation is that this sector of beef has stabilized.
We're seeing a stronger cash market in the live. That's certainly helping. So, the more we can see some buying coming into the live cattle market, it's going to help the feeder cattle market as well. The big problem is at some point, the issue of reduction of herd size. We're doing away with some of the herd size already. That is hurting, as we talked about, that is hurting feeder demand. So I don't think that's going to go away soon. We're going to see these little pops in the market, but if corn takes off and runs again, I think it's going to be very hard to maintain buying interest in feeders.
We are about out of time for the markets, so here's that trivia answer just ahead of the new feature story. B is the correct choice. 18% of the state's catfish ponds are located in East Mississippi.
In our feature segment today, Farm Week's Amy Taylor reports on a brother and sister from Pontotoc, Mississippi, who are putting a new spin on the term local food.
Artists, in the past few years, the concept of supporting local farmers markets and naturally grown products has really taken off in Mississippi. However, many of these items are only available on a seasonal basis. St. Bethany Fresh Farms in Pontotoc is working to fill a niche market for pesticide-free, locally produced tomatoes all year long. Using rather unconventional methods like counting leaves on plants, the new operation has had great success in its first year. With about 3,000 tomato plants growing in what's called a hydroponic greenhouse, St. Bethany Fresh in North Mississippi is not your typical tomato venue. The farm is a family business run by Stephen Hale and his sister Leah Beth Murphy, which inspired the name for the operation.
St. Bethany came from, it's part of my name and it's part of my sister's name. My sister always called me ST, and her name is Bethany, so they was kind of put together and became the name of our company.
Ground was broken for the greenhouse in the fall of 2011, seeds were planted in December, and by April of 2012, St. Bethany Fresh was selling tomatoes from a farm stand. Leah Beth Murphy says you'd be hard-pressed to find an operation in the state offering year-round fresh produce, which is what sparked the idea for St. Bethany Fresh.
I think in my family we have an entrepreneurial spirit, and one of those things that come along with that is seeing what is missing in a market. We're selling right now at farmers market. It's farmers market season. We're selling in Oxford and Tupelo, selling out every week so far. We're selling in a few restaurants in Tupelo and a few wholesale markets around in Bruce, Water Valley, Pontotoc, Tupelo.
Additionally, Murphy says one day she'd like to add other kinds of vegetables to the operation. Stephen Hale says the greenhouse is not built from conventional materials growers normally use.
It is a hydroponic greenhouse. It is completely computerized, as in temperature controlled, and our fertilizer is irrigated through the system computer-wise. Now we have to mix the fertilizer and keep everything up. And then we have to actually maintain the plants, but the rest of it is computerized and keeps the building temperatures controlled.
As for the unusual looking wall on the end of the structure, Hale says it's called a wet wall used for temperature control.
The wet wall, it kind of acts like a radiator does. Whenever the temperature gets too hot in here, the computer will tell the wet wall to come on, and water flows from a pipe in the top down through the wet wall, and then we have big fans on the other side of the building that actually suck air from the outside through the wet wall, and it helps cool the temperature down here and keep the humidity down.
In addition, Leah Beth Murphy explains why there's no need for chemical pesticides at St. Bethany Fresh.
We have a insect exclusion room that can kind of provide that for us, where when that wet wall does come on, the computer opens the vent doors and sucks in that air from the fans through that wet wall. We have an insect netting over that south wall, so when the fans pull that air through the vent door, through the wet wall, it's not sucking in any insects, and we don't have to use chemical pesticides.
Another unconventional process in the greenhouse is growing tomatoes in perlite instead of composted pine bark or soil. Perlite is weed-free, has a neutral pH, and serves well as a fertilizer carrier and a drainage component. Stephen Hale says all materials for the greenhouse came from one source.
Everything comes from the company that we started out with. It comes with the whole entire greenhouse, down to our fertilizer, to our packaging of our plant, of our actual tomatoes that we sell out of, the flats that we sell out, everything, every detail in there comes all in a package deal.
Needless to say, Hale and his family have been pleased with the product. But even with the convenient aspects of the facility, Leah Beth Murphy says caring for the plants is still a big job.
These plants get out of control quick, and we've learned the hard way at times that they can grow up over our cable, and we don't want to lose any fruit, we don't want to lose any plants, so we have to stay on top of them continually. Breaking leaves, as you see, we leave about 8 to 10 leaves on each plant, and this doesn't take away from the fruit production and the quality, color, taste, most importantly.
Murphy says lots of research was done before starting the operation. She and her family attended workshops on greenhouse tomatoes and are working closely with the Mississippi State University Extension Service. Rick Snyder, MSU Extension Vegetable Specialist, talks about how he found out about St. Bethany Fresh.
I got an email from, I think it was from the 4-H agent here, who had visited the greenhouse. And once I found out there was a producer, I called him up on the phone, and we had a nice chat. And this is a family-run operation, and I told him about the greenhouse tomato short course, and next thing I know, he sent his daughter down, Leah Beth, and she came down to the greenhouse tomato short course in March, and we've been in contact since then.
Since learning about St. Bethany Fresh, Snyder says he admires the family's attention to detail. Additionally, he points out the clever way St. Bethany Fresh pollinates its plants.
This greenhouse is using bumblebees for pollinating the plants. That's another way to pollinate. A lot of growers will use a vibrating pollinator and hand pollinate every other day in the greenhouse. If the greenhouse is big enough, bumblebees can be used, and they do an equally good job, but it takes that labor away from having to hire people or do it yourself.
In addition, Snyder emphasizes that it's important for those interested in any facet of agriculture to get information and advice from the Mississippi State University Extension Service. Leah Beth Murphy says she and her family are happy with the progress of St. Bethany Fresh, and future plans are still ahead.
We have big dreams of even schools and hospitals. I'd love for that bureaucratic red tape to be something, my daughter didn't have to fight to get healthy, freshly grown vegetables or any kind of produce in her, kids' schools. Right now, that's a fight it's a fight, and it shouldn't be like that.
Additionally, Murphy says customers and families often come to tour the facility and learn more about hydroponics. What she enjoys most are good times with her family and getting positive feedback on St. Bethany products.
We're just having a lot of fun right now, and I know that sounds cheesy, but this has been so much fun for my family and I, and to reap the benefits of, seeing how people are responding to the product, because that's the most important thing. We may have beautiful plants, we may have a wonderful facility, we may have beautiful tomatoes, but if they don't taste good, it's all for naught. So we're really excited about how people are responding to our tomatoes.
With St. Bethany Fresh being the first hydroponic operation in Northeast Mississippi, Leah Beth, Stephen, and their family hope others will follow in the future. From Pontotoc, Mississippi, I'm Amy Taylor reporting.
And we'll have links and contact information for St. Bethany Fresh on our Facebook page and Farm Week website.
Thank you, Amy. Good job. We are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, we'll meet a young man who's as comfortable on Twitter and Facebook as he is on the dairy farm.
Will Gilmer of Sullivan, Alabama, believes in communicating to the public about agriculture. He has more than 4,000 Twitter followers and produces the MooTube Minute.
In Southern Gardening, discover some of the All-America selections that will thrive in the South. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.